All right, guys. So I wanted to weigh in on another one that has been kind of really funny for me. Just watching how the Republicans are trying to come up with a way to attack Tim Walz and also Kamala Harris. I mean, and they just seem desperate. They're really floundering. For Kamala Harris, we all kind of knew they were going to devolve into the race trope. I mean, everything was always going to be radical leftist, radical left senator, which for any of us who really know what her policy positions are, you could accurately describe Kamala Harris as, a pretty middle of the road corporate centrist Democrat. She backed away from supporting Medicare for all during the 2020 primary. So it's not like she's some radical left lunatic. She worked for Joe Biden. Joe Biden's not some radical left Democrat either. But the really funny one is them trying to come up with a decent line of attack on Tim Walz. And it seems like what they've landed on, which I also don't think is going to work at all, is Tim Walz is transing the kids, of course, and also the stolen valor thing. They can't really attack him on the policies he got through in Minnesota because they were very, very popular. And if you just pull issue by issue, not like, is this a radical left thing, but like, hey, do you think it's a good idea for, to give people paid family leave when they have a kid? Everybody across the spectrum, Democrat or Republican, would say, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. If you're going to have a kid, that you should have the ability to spend time with that kid. But yeah, the line of attack that they're going against Tim Walz that I've heard that seems the most flaccid is this stolen valor thing where they're saying that he abandoned the National Guard right before they deployed to Iraq. First, not true. Okay, I think I've looked up a little bit on this. He actually had submitted his paperwork to get out a couple of months before they deployed to Iraq. So that's number one. Number two is, he served in the military for 24 years or something like that. And so it's it's not good enough to serve in the military. Remember, these people are you should support our troops, but also if you didn't deploy to Iraq, even if you served more than 2 decades, that means that you're a horrible person and you abandon the people that you, it's just all this ridiculous thing. So I think it's going to not land at all. I think it's going to make them sound very desperate, very low, and it's normal gutter politics from the Republicans. But I saw this, it was I guess kind of like a mini debate or a mock debate on breaking points that Ryan Grimm and Emily Jashinsky hosted. And it was Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and some lawyer, a pro-Trump lawyer, and his name is Will Chamberlin. And he's going to try and trot out this line of attack. And Cenk basically buries him with it, as he should. So take a little look and then we'll react.
He's got some very big issues on the trans stuff. It's not merely, do trans people exist? This is stuff like, he's going to make it impossible for red states to set laws that prohibit transgender surgeries on children. I like, as much as Cenk wants to say this stuff is popular, this stuff is not popular. Beacons of reactionary conservatism like England and Norway and Sweden have banned all these treatments.
So I love Cenk's reaction to this because he looks as confused as anybody should, because this isn't happening, right? This is not a thing, right? They're not allowing children to have surgeries. They don't have these big clinics where it's hey, I want you to go ahead and lop off this little kid's balls. It's just not happening, which is why I enjoy listening to Republicans chirp about this so much, because it's just not real. But anyway, let's listen to him continue, because he's about to get into it.
Go well with the broader public. And then there's also the biggest issue, which I think with Walz, which really hasn't been covered. He's a deployment dodger. He was in the National Guard. He was the leader of a unit. And the moment that the Iraq war, that his unit was about to deploy, he just said, sorry, guys, have fun, and just let them all go off to Iraq. And 3 of them died.
Okay, let me answer that. So the brother was in the National Guard for 27 years. He got at least 3 medals that I saw. And and he enlisted. He's the highest enlisted ranked member of the armed services to ever serve in Congress.
So I actually did not know that he's the highest ranked member of the armed services to ever serve in Congress. That's actually interesting. But again, it's so funny. It's this whole, like, let's take something that would normally be a strength, especially like coming from a Republican standpoint, and we're going to turn it into the worst thing that this guy's ever done. Is that, you know, he's a deployment dodger. I'm sure Cenk's going to get to it, but it's like, famously, who magically came up with a bone spurs diagnosis when they were supposed to go to Vietnam? You know, this is like President Bone Spurs, Donald Trump, your guy, and you're going to sit here and like dunk on Tim Walz for not deploying to Iraq. So
compare him to Commander Bone Spurs.
Yep, exactly.
And from Vietnam, and they asked him, "Hey, your daddy wrote you a note about how you had bone spurs in your ankle. Which ankle was it?" And he's like, I don't, maybe both. Your guy's a total utter coward. He ran from Vietnam and then later bragged that his Vietnam was dodging STDs at the orgies he was going to. So you want to compare him to a guy who served for 27 years? Have at it, Hoss.
I think that's so funny too. It's just like, you really, there's this amazing thing that exists among Republicans and people who support Donald Trump, that they just have this part of their brain, like the normal person's brain, that would be like embarrassed if they said something ridiculously hypocritical. But these guys just don't have that part in their brain that's like, hey, don't say that thing, because this will end up being really deeply embarrassing in about 2 seconds. This is such an obvious thing that, like, you're going to go after Tim Walz, who, for one, is served for 27 years or 24 years, I don't remember. But two, he's the vice presidential candidate. Trump, who is the presidential candidate, has never served in any war, and also was a draft dodger. So anyway, like I said, it's really funny to watch these guys make these arguments, because they're so flaccid. And I don't say that just as like a person who, I'm some, like rah liberal. It's a terrible argument to make. Like, there's plenty of stuff that you could go after the Democrats for, but this is not one of them.
I'll go right back at you on that. My guy's the guy who got shot in the face and got up screaming, fight, fight, fight. Your guy, who's a 47-year-old man supervising teenagers and young men who are about to go to the war, leading them for years. The moment they're about to deploy, walks off the job. Total loser. Anybody's a coward in this race. It's Tim Walz.
You're nuts. So you're saying actually defending the country is cowardly if you do it for decades on end and you win several
When did he
medals.
defend the country?
Hold on,
the one chance he had a chance to do it, he quit.
You don't get to talk over me.
Sorry. Okay, fair enough.
And then wins the Nebraska Citizen Soldier of the Year. He wins every award there is. And then you go, well, no, you didn't serve 30 years. You didn't serve 40 years. Your guy served 0 years.
Anyway, so like I said, it's super funny to watch these guys go after Tim Walz on something that anybody who's a normal person would go, yeah, that's a great strength. He was, he had a background, he served military, Army National Guard. And for the record, it's like, just because you don't go to a war zone and actively shoot at people doesn't mean that you didn't serve your country, okay? Just such a weak point, such a flaccid argument. But I'm here for it, man. Like I said, if this is the attack they want to run on the Democrats, is that Tim Walz is, didn't serve long enough, I just don't think it's going to land. I think it's going to really turn off anybody that wasn't already a MAGA mouth breather. So like I said, I think their attacks are really, really landing flat, and the more momentum that they're getting, I think you're going to see the Trump campaign get more and more desperate, and they're not going to really win on any of the policy issues. They're going to go to these like gutter politics, low blow attacks on like Tim Walz transing the kids. They do this other thing where they're talking about, they're trying to nickname him Tampon Tim because he put free tampons in school bathrooms, and they're trying to say that he put tampons in boys' bathrooms. Also not true. In the same way that it's like, oh, he deployed, or he got out right before his unit deployed. Not true. It was 2 months before. Like, he had done the paperwork 2 months before. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, to them, it doesn't matter because facts don't actually matter. They rely on people not actually going in and doing the fact check. And if they're allowed to do that unchecked, then the points seem a little more salient, even though at the end of the day, they're really bad. So, like I said, let me know what you think. I don't think it's going to go particularly well if the Republicans continue down this route of trying to attack somebody like Tim Walz, a veteran, over not serving enough. But like to see how it plays out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll keep trying to post stuff while I'm here doing work up in Chicago, and I'll see you guys in the next one.